It's the most incredible technology. Digital signage as a group is named wrong because digital signage, you think of ad-based networks. The last two major projects that I've done have been, and am doing, are employee facing. They're like thousands of screens, and they're by big companies, in one case a cable company, another one a multinational company, and it's all employee facing stuff. It's all communication, it's brand building in the company. There's not an ad that goes into it. So when we think about digital signage, we think, oh man, sure, we're talking about the stuff at the local Macy's store and all of this. So what I want to know, whether it's an employee facing network or whether it's whatever it is, I want to figure out, and Jose, by the way, has a version. It's called AIM, A-I-M, and it's not as sophisticated as I yet want it to be, but I want to get instantaneous data feedback. So if Karen Verone is in charge of content for the company, and you know what your objectives are, and you're matching your content to your objectives, then I want you to have that data to know, how successful am I being? And I don't want you to drink your Kool-Aid by, oh, I'm a creative person, and I'm this, and I'm that, and I'm something else. That's what I want. So you want to talk about a widget Alan wants, I want something diminutive, stays out of the way, that is very powerful on the back end, that's not going to intimidate anybody, and then I want to give that information to you, and then we have quantum leaps in digital signage. This is exciting. We were talking about it, as you well know, I've been here since day one. I was here with the Digital Retail Expo in San Francisco, and over the 10 years, Phil Cohen and I, the past chairman of the DSF, we were talking about it. We've literally seen it migrate and grow. The interesting part about the show this year, though, is the absolute buzz on the show floor in satisfaction with what's going on. People are talking about topics, not just about the attendance at the show, which everybody advertises and all of this sort of thing. People are talking about diversity. We were doing the certification program, and I had people from 5 continents in my class. We have people, we did the Digital Signage Certified Experts program this year in Spanish. We had 53 people. I had 60 people in the English version. We had 53 people in the Spanish version. And we're talking about Latin America and South America. So what's special about it this year, and it gets more and more and more that way, it is more of a heartfelt community feeling about the show. That's been said. It's diversity, that's been said. There are no revolutionary new technologies that are going on at the show this year. It's more evolutionary than revolutionary in nature. But what is characterizing this show, I would lump it under one word, and the word is community. The word is community. And the other word would be collaboration. And as you go around, you'll go into one booth and somebody will say, did you see this? And they may not have any connectivity with this at all. And they'll take a person who's in their booth, they'll take them to another booth just so they can see things. Trust me when I tell you, that doesn't happen in the vast majority of trade shows. So that's how 2014 is characterized at the Digital Signage Expo. The fact of the matter is, and most people would think as long as I've been doing this, that I much prefer to work with the multinational companies and these huge multi-thousand screen networks and things like that. Truth be told, most of us who kind of have teaching in our spirit as I do, truth be told, it really is more exciting to work with the entry-level people. It's almost like watching their faces as you inform them, as you educate them, watching their faces almost in wonderment going, wow, I thought it was more complex, or wow, I thought it was less complex. And you get both kinds of comments. People that think that it is something that is very easy to do. Let me put a 46-inch flat panel on a wall and a media player and some Cat 5 cables, and isn't this simple? And then you get the people who are just intimidated. And so that whole span of the entry-level people is fascinating. Not to be self-serving, but it really is all about education. The number one, and research has been done about this, the number one issue that we still face is people understanding what digital signage really does. And so whether it's people who participate in the Digital Signage Experts Group, our certification programs, or all of these vendors around have their own, not certification programs, but their own education programs, what I tell people is learn, think. I give them my card and I say, if you've got a question, please contact us. Please go to the Digital Signage Federation and contact them with questions. And so the number one advice for anybody, and I'm sorry that all my hardware manufacturers we work for don't like this, but the truth of the matter is, it's really not about hardware, it's really not about software, it's really about the business model and making a successful business model. It's really about getting content to become that vehicle, and then ultimately you need to learn all you can possibly learn about the topic before you enter it, and if you've already entered it and you've made a lot of mistakes, then go back and retrace your steps and learn what you don't know. You're picking your questions rather interestingly. These are the questions, by the way, at about 8:30, 9 o'clock after you've had dinner, that we're all sitting around having a good glass of red wine and we discuss these exact questions. And you just happen to ask one of my favorite ones, which is, somebody who thinks they know it all, been there, done that, I've done this for 20 years, this kind of mentality. Well, the answer is they really haven't done this over the last 20 years. The truth of the matter is that things are really evolving and transitioning at a rather rapid rate. Things like you and I were having a conversation earlier about analytics and how we measure things. That's new and exciting. But Kim Sarubi, who's the current chairman of the Digital Signage Federation, and she's really an expert in content design and production and all of that. That's how she makes a living, and her passion is volunteering for the Digital Signage Federation. I've got to give her credit for coining a phrase. She doesn't talk about thinking outside the box. She says, let's think outside the rectangle. And I love that. I love that. And so by thinking outside the rectangle, let's expand that in answer to your question. So the conventional wisdom, common sense thing is at a corporation, if you're going to use digital signage, let's put digital signage in the lobby and say, welcome Mrs. Angelo, Verone, Davis, Taylor, whatever. Welcome to XYZ Corporation. Let's put that in the cafeteria. Let's put a digital signage display in front of a reception desk at a school. Let's do these things because, I've been doing this 20 years and that's where we ought to place these things. I always tell people, time out, let's think outside the rectangle. How can we use these things in ways to communicate, ways to collaborate, ways to decorate? Decoration's a good thing. How do you use digital signage to decorate, to add to the environment? And then all of a sudden you get one of these, I've been there, done that, and you go, well, have you ever thought about using a micro tile to do this? And have you ever thought about using near field communication to do something else? And then all of a sudden you see the veil begin to lift from their eyes. Now, not everybody, you're going to still get some of those old war horses who are going to say, yep, I still know it all, yeah, I know it all. But more often than not, these people who've been in it for a long time, once you talk about the things that are not conventional wisdom, new applications, and get out of thinking about digital signage, as just a brand building medium. It is collaboration, it is communication, it is emergency notification. And if you can talk with passion about those topics, even the experienced people are going to come around eventually and go, this really is exciting, isn't it, Alan? Yes, it is. Thank you. I'm glad you got the message. Content is become one of my favorite topics because I don't have a creative bone in my body. I'm the person that once I see incredible content, I'm all over it. I recognize it. The classic, I don't know anything about art, but I know it when I see it. We had last night, as you're obviously well aware, we had the Apex Awards. And it was really cool. We looked at the best of the best content, bronze, silver, and gold medal award winners, and we saw little snippets of content. They all had a couple of things in common. The really successful ones had some things in common. The first thing that they all have in common, and kind of the keys to the kingdom, if you will, is the concept of engagement. Content does not and cannot be passive. Karen Verone and Alan Brawn are not at a mall going to see digital signage. We are going to the mall to shop. And somehow digital signage has to capture our attention in that 5 seconds, and you and I have to turn our attention and go, Karen, did you see that? Wow, I did. Isn't that interesting? And we literally need to shift our focus to the display. How you do that? Well, okay, we can do that in several ways, but research has shown that probably the best way is the onset of motion. No, not necessarily full motion video, but it is that onset of motion and movement, almost like that onset of audio in an audio environment that makes you turn your head and go, wait a minute, something changed. Something in our paradigm, something in our environment, as you and I were walking down the aisle in a mall, something in our paradigm changed and it was motion. Then you reinforce it with things like bright colors and high contrast images. And then I read a new book lately, and I kind of want to leave you with this thought. As you know, I never say anything in 50 words I can say in 500. But in this particular case, a good friend of ours on the board of the DSF, I might add, Steve Hargis is a director of video production at Bass Pro Shops. And he sent me a book, and it's called Don't Make Me Think. And it's about web design. Now, I can see by your reaction and the reaction of our viewers, it's like, well, what does Alan want to know about web design? And the answer is, Alan really doesn't want to know much about web design. But here's the message of the book. It was and it was not about web design. It says, if you keep things in bite-sized chunks and you make it easy for people to absorb information quickly, they have enough complexity in their lives, whatever it might be, after the fact. So if you think about this in digital signage, don't make me think. Capture my attention. It could be motion, it could be colors, it even could be audio in a limited number of installations. But what I want to do is capture your attention and have a good, clear call to action and do it fairly quickly and succinctly, but don't make me think. Just let me absorb it and let me recall that. And by the way, we have proven that if you do it this way, your recollection is going to be in the 60 to 70% range instead of just completely forgetting about it after you leave a screen. So if you follow some of these little hints and tips about content, you're going to be successful. And I'll just leave you with a thought: don't make me think.